Fox Soccer insider Doug McIntyre, a recent guest on this pod, has been periodically putting out his projections for the U.S. World Cup squad and the starting lineup, and he just unveiled his first edition of 2026. In the article, Doug addressed some of the ambiguity regarding the formation. He pointed out that in November, the U.S. played a game in which everybody drew it up as a back three, but then Pochettino said afterwards it was a back four. Doug talked about how they've been changing within a game. It looks one way when they have the ball, a different way when they don't have the ball. So his larger message was, don't obsess so much over the formation. But he did build his starting lineup in a 4-2-3-1. He had Matt Freese in goal, Richards and Ream as the center backs, Alex Freeman and Jedi Robinson as the fullbacks, Tyler Adams and Tanner Tessman sitting, Weston McKennie in a 10-ish role, Christian Pulisic on the left, Serginho Dest on the right, and Folarin Balogun up top. He had backup goalkeepers Matt Turner and Patrick Schulte, backup center backs Noah Kai Banks, Miles Robinson, and Mark McKenzie. He had Timmy Weah as the backup right back, Arfston backup left back, Sebastian Berhalter, Christian Roldan, backups in the central midfield. And then in those attacking midfield positions, Luna, Brendan Aronson, Gio Reyna, and Malik Tillman. And then Pepe and Ajiman as the backup center forward. Some of the notable omissions, Joe Scala, Yunus Musa, Johnny Cardoso, Haji Wright. What did you make of it?
So first off, that you did that off the top of your head is insane, but I should be used to it at this point. You're incredible. So I love Dougie, and I think we should be fair to him that this is what he thinks the lineup is going to be under Pochettino, not necessarily what he would want it to be. But he's playing both sides in that he's still also putting Noah Kai Banks in his roster. When it comes to his actual starting lineup, I'm okay, and I agree with a lot of the stuff that he has, and some of these I think are just in pen and to be expected. He did mention, as you did, if this team actually plays a back three or a back four. And yeah, look, lineups are best laid plans and their initial phases, and you have to be able to move and morph from whatever that lineup is. I think because he has players like Jedi Robinson and Serginho Dest that don't really play your traditional right back or left back, even in a back four type of situation, he can get away with saying, "Oh, we're fluid and we can go this way and that way."
I actually think the lineup he picked could very easily toggle to a 3-4-2-1 if need be. It would mean Alex Freeman playing as the right center back, Dest and Jedi as the wing backs, Adams and Tessman sitting, and then Pulisic and McKennie floating behind the center forward. That doesn't seem like a stretch to me, so he could have built the same 11 players a different way if he wanted.
It would be interesting if we asked Dougie Mack what he would do, given the fact that he is, as we know, a Noah Kai Banks, along with our friend Stu Holden, absolute apologist and lover right now. I would think that he would have him in his starting lineup. He at least has him on his team here. I don't even think that's going to happen, but that's not here nor there. That he had Tanner Tessman in the starting lineup, I think a lot of people will be drawn to that as to if they agree, and let us know if you agree, by the way, on all of this, and let Dougie know for sure. I don't get where that comes from. So that's where my head goes to immediately. All the other ones, even if I disagree, I can make a case for and completely understand why he put him in here. But I don't understand why he believes that Tanner Tessman has endeared himself to Pochettino so much so that he is going to start for the U.S. in the World Cup.
If you go with this 4-2-3-1 formation, his lineup skews a bit pragmatic. You could very easily put Weston McKennie alongside Tyler Adams, and that would open up a spot for a Gio Reyna or Malik Tillman as the 10. And you could also put Serginho Dest at right back, and that would open up a spot for Timmy Weah on the right wing. So Doug went a little bit conservative with his pick.
Well, although he is kind of anointing Weston McKennie as an advanced midfielder to kind of go and do whatever he wants, and in doing so, maybe because of the Tessman thing, he's saying, well, I'm going to let Weston McKennie roam free and do whatever he wants, but I'm going to have to protect him behind the scenes with Tessman and Tyler Adams. You mentioned some of the notable omissions. No Haji Wright. I mean, when we're talking about guys up top, if we're especially, who knows what's happening with Pepe right now. Haji Wright, we've talked about the fact that he can play multiple positions. We saw what he did in that last window. So I'm not sure that's going to happen. Your friend Johnny shouldn't necessarily be a surprise, and Yunus Musa has long been on the outside.
Yeah, Pochettino might prefer a target striker like Ajiman, but in terms of just who the better player is, I think Haji Wright is a better player than Ajiman, so I would have him in my squad.
Yeah, absolutely. He also listed Tim Weah as a defender. Okay, so but we know, that right hand side. So would you like to hear my starting lineup?
Well, let me just say one last comment
Okay.
on Doug's. If you go with his lineup, you'd have a pretty good bench from an attacking standpoint with guys like Gio Reyna, Malik Tillman, Diego Luna, Brendan Aronson, Ricardo Pepi. If the U.S. were to be losing a game in the second half, needing a spark, you'd have a lot of good options there to bring in.
Are you okay with Alex Freeman over there? Because he has him as a starter too, and that would be the other eye-opening type of thing. If Tessman and Alex Freeman are starting next summer, I'm okay with it. It doesn't mean I'm walking away from this team by any stretch of the imagination, but I would find it much more of a surprise than I guess Doug Mack finds.
His stock is on the rise. Had a great game against Uruguay to close out the year. And, we talked about MLS players facing interesting transfer decisions. Freeman is one who has definite interest from good clubs in Europe. Would he go now or stay in MLS? I don't think it's a crazy stretch that he could be starting games at the World Cup.
Listen, Doug knows this team and has followed this team, and I even when I disagree with him, I have an incredible amount of respect for the time he takes to put something like this together and the reasoning. And we'll get him back, and we'll scream and yell at him going forward.
I would like to hear your line.
You would?
Yes.
Well, you're the one. So when this happened, I said, all right, I'm going to come up with my own 11. And by the way, you should come up with your 11 too, okay? Let us know what you think. Even if it's one or two changes here that you would make, whether it's the 11 or the full roster here. All right, so this is what I got. So we're in agreement with Matt Freese, and that in and of itself is wild. We've talked about that a lot on the pod, the fact that that Matt Freese has gone in and in a relatively short period of time, made that position his, but so it is. I am still going to put this team in kind of like a back five-ish and play up the fact, as I mentioned, of Dest and Robinson being complete hybrids and oftentimes not shirking their defensive responsibilities, but being much more proactive and putting the opposition on the back foot and having them have to game plan. So on the right-hand side, I do have Serginho Dest. Then I have those three in the middle, true center backs, if you will. Miles Robinson. I'm putting Chris Richards in the middle. At times you've had Tim Ream in the middle, but I worry about that speed down the gut. We saw that in the last window. So I got Chris Richards in the middle, and I have Tim Ream next to him on the left-hand side, and then Jedi Robinson on that left-hand side. By the way, we should say congratulations to Chris Richards because he was just announced as the U.S. Soccer Player of the Year, which, according to them, means that there's two defenders that have won over the last 2 years because they consider Jedi Robinson a defender. But whatever, I won't quibble with that. But he's a center back. It's been a while since a center back has won. I think back in 2006.
You won it, my friend.
A long time ago. But 2006, I think, was the last time that a true center back won it. Oguchi Onyewu going forward. Okay, so then in my midfield, let's see. Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams, Malik Tillman, and Christian Pulisic. I do think that Pochettino really likes Tillman. I think he looked at what happened over the summer and how impactful he was and is going to try to find a way to get him on the field. The Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams, I recognize that this still is, it could be suspect from a defensive standpoint in the midfield. So this is a much more attacking type of lineup, but that's what I'm going with because that's how I live, Mosse. I live on the front foot going forward. And then I have Flo Balogun up top.
I wonder how many different times Doug will update his projections between now and the World Cup because that would go against your form as fallacy logic. I mean, you have your guys that you think are the best players, and it's based on how they've performed for the national team, and you're not going to overreact to a few weeks of good form or bad form for their club. I don't know how Doug is going to approach that over the next 6 months or so.
Well, no, that would confirm my form as fallacy take, right?
Yeah. I'm saying the way you approach it.
Got it. Okay, yes,
If
the way I approach it.
If Doug changes his lineup a bunch of times just because, this one's had a few good games in a row for his club and this one's been struggling, that would cut against your notion of
for those that haven't listened over the years, yes. It doesn't mean that I don't want players playing well, and it doesn't mean that they can't translate what they're doing at the club level to the international level. And all things being equal, yes, I want players being healthy. I want them playing well. But sometimes something strange happens when you get on that plane and you arrive in that destination. In this case, I guess it would be Atlanta when they all start coming over for the World Cup. When you land at Hartsfield or whatever it is in Atlanta there, I hope you're the same player or a better player. But you could be not doing well at club and do fine when you get there, and the opposite could be the case here too. So I'm not going to be mesmerized and shaded completely by what's happening at a club level.
I think I like your lineup a little bit better than Doug, so this round goes to you. Doug McIntyre will be mentioned multiple times in the remainder of this podcast, incidentally.
Okay, but again, just because Mosse, for maybe the first time in a long time, is actually in agreement with me, doesn't mean that you have to be in agreement with us. So let us know what you think going forward. And again, I guess you can do two lineups. What you think Pochettino is going to do and what you would do if you were Pochettino or in Pochettino's place. I guess look at it like that. Because anytime lineups come out. But Mosse, when we are fonting the national team this summer in the World Cup, what are we going to say in terms of the tactical and what they play? You get to make this ultimate call, I think.
Yeah. Depends on, obviously, which players they put out, but I'm probably going to lean 3-4-2-1. A little bit of bias there just because I think that's the formation they should play.
Yeah. And to be fair to Pochettino, yes, there are times where you literally could look at a back four on the field, but it morphs and changes. And, yes, formations are important, but they're just a starting point, and then you go from there. What else we got?
Christian Pulisic was included in both yours and Doug McIntyre's starting lineup. He is going to be busy the next few days. We're taping this on Wednesday afternoon. Tomorrow, AC Milan will be away to Como in Serie A, and then on Sunday they will play host to Lecce. AC Milan currently second in Serie A behind Inter, who are playing Lecce as we speak. It is 0-0 in the 41st minute. The Como match is interesting. Como sixth in Serie A. They feature this young Argentine Nico Paz, who is a Real Madrid player, sold to Como, but Real Madrid have a buyback clause they are going to exercise, so he'll soon be back at Real Madrid. And they have Cesc Fabregas, who we talked about Xabi Alonso being the up-and-coming manager in European football. He went to Real Madrid. We saw what happened there. Cesc Fabregas is sort of the next one in line who's getting linked to big clubs. So he'll be going up against AC Milan, Christian Pulisic and company.
A couple questions. You think we'll see Paz this summer?
Yes, I think he'll be in the Argentina squad.
Okay, that's a good thing. And as we get closer and closer, and start doing more and more previews, we'll talk about some of the young. We always do when it comes to a tournament, players to look for. A lot of these young players that use this platform to come out, if you will, to the world. Okay, it is a race here at the top, which is a good thing from Serie A. And a couple weeks ago, we were talking about Christian Pulisic and the nagging injuries that he has. And he's been starting, coming in and stuff like that. I think hopefully we're getting into a good stretch here where he's back. He's feeling good. He's starting because they are going to need him if they have hope of pipping anybody ultimately for the Scudetto going forward. But 2 games in 4 days, load management and all this kind of stuff, especially for a player that we know has not been in the best of health of late. We'll see how much time he ultimately gets.
And the Knicks have a center, Mitch Robinson, who they've determined cannot play in back-to-back nights. So anytime the Knicks have back-to-back games, he automatically sits out one of them. You wonder if AC Milan have a similar approach with Pulisic, 2 games in 4 days.
I wonder if the negotiation says, okay, well, I'm going to pay you for half of your performance, right? If you make $1 million, I know they don't make $1 million, but it's $1 million, it's under the assumption that you are going to be playing all the games, or maybe 75% of the games. But if you can only play, I don't know how many back-to-back games. I'm assuming in the NBA there's a lot of games, but I would bet that the agent and the player might say no, that's not how it works.
I don't do back-to-back pods. I've made that clear to Sean, Tripp, and company. So if we ever do back-to-back days, I have to sit out one of them load management.
But in your case, your value that you bring is exponential. So I mean, it doesn't affect what we're paying you.
Staying in Serie A, this upcoming weekend, Juventus will be away to Cagliari. Weston McKennie looking to continue his great form in the Ask Alexi segment today. We're going to revisit Doug McIntyre's assertion that McKennie is the best midfielder in U.S. history. He's certainly one of the best midfielders on Juventus right now.
And he's flying right now. And now, as I think we probably could have predicted, there's all sorts of stuff that's circulating relative to him. Again, he is playing, for now, he's playing out his contract to the end of the year, and so therefore would be a free agent, not just in the summer, but in the summer when there's a World Cup, which could highly affect his value going forward. But a lot of communication now coming out from Italy that they do want Weston, and they'd like to get back to the bargaining table and stuff like that going forward. I bet they would, but now Weston and his representation might say, oh, not so fast. We're good where we are.
We go to the English Championship next. Wrexham will play host to Norwich City. I'm wondering about Josh Sargent. He refused to play in Norwich's FA Cup win over Walsall this past weekend. He's hoping to get a move to Toronto. Norwich said he's not for sale. As of this taping, no deal yet. If this drags on a couple more days, will he refuse to play in this match as well? And if he does that, I know you take a very fatherly approach to all mutant genes in the world. How disappointed would you be in Sargent?
Well, not only would it be a bad look for him, but it's a bad look for redheads, gingers, whatever you want to call them, those of us that possess the mutant gene. And I over the years have certainly shown my bias and given him the benefit of the doubt. But as I said in the show earlier this week, it was a bad look for it to come out that he had begged off of playing and had sent his coach a text. And look, I know this looming possibility of Toronto FC, given the money and the fact that he would be coming back first time in MLS is a big deal. But you're a pro. You're a grown man, and you're a pro. And they are still paying you to do a job, all right? And unless you have, like we were talking earlier, something in your contract that says, well, I don't play if there is a offer for me, then you should be out there playing. And what if the TFC thing doesn't happen? Then where are you? You've kind of burned all these bridges because you couldn't handle doing your job and something else at home. I mean, how many people out there have jobs, all right, that they do, and they sure as hell don't make the money that Josh Sargent makes, and then they come home, and there's stuff that happens at home, serious stuff that they have to deal with. And no, I can't come in and do my job. Your boss will say, well, I don't need you anymore. So do your job, and good things will happen, Josh Sargent. So we'll see if he's back on the field or even in the squad going forward here, or if his mind is still elsewhere regarding this situation.
Wrexham, incidentally, we haven't checked in on them in a while. It wasn't Macclesfield Crystal Palace, but they pulled off a nice FA Cup upset this past weekend, taking out Nottingham Forest on penalties. In the championship, they're in 9th place, but just 1 point out of the playoff spots. It would be pretty amazing if they can keep this march up the ladder and get to the Premier League next season.
Well, that's what's amazing. And look, anytime something like this happens, yes, there is a magic and charm, and a lot of people, because of the TV show, have been drawn to this now multiple year quest. But there's also plenty of people that have knives out and are poo-pooing it. And at each level, people have said, okay, this is where reality finally hits. But it hasn't, in that they've just continued to go on. And even 9th place, but within striking distance of possibly going up to the ultimate goal, which is getting into the EPL. A lot of credit to the way that they have gone about building this team on the field. Oh, by the way, while doing it being this juggernaut of a reality show and of a fantasy type of thing that the world is bought into.
David Letterman has this talk show on Netflix.
Yep.
And there were several days, I know you were in Florida, but where it was raining in LA and I was sitting home with nothing to do. And I watched a bunch of episodes of Letterman's talk show. I watched one with Jason Bateman, another with Michael B. Jordan. And I watched an episode with Ryan Reynolds, and they talked briefly about Wrexham. Ryan Reynolds, what a likable guy. He just comes off very well. And yeah, he talked about how into it he is. It's been an amazing experience for him. And you watch that and you really believe that he's into this,
I wonder what the data says about that little story that you just told there, because you did pull in the soccer part of it, right? But it was still also about what you were watching and your personal thing that's going on here. I don't know. Maybe we can cut it out, or maybe somebody just fast forwarded through it.
By the way, I don't think I've ever watched any of his movies. I've not watched any of those Deadpool films. Did you watch those?
No, but I watched, what was the pizza sitcom that he was on? Probably before you guys were even around or something like that. Yep. So anyway, I don't know if he's a good guy, but on camera, he seems to be a good guy. But
yep.
that can be deceiving. Okay, what else?
Staying in England, but going up to the Premier League this upcoming weekend, Leeds United will play host to Fulham. That's Brendan Aronson against Anthony Robinson.
Ooh, my goodness. Ooh, all right. So what are we looking at? Fulham at 9th over there. My goodness. And Leeds down at 16th. But, they're both, well, certainly Fulham is plenty comfortable. And Leeds, who do you got? Well, who's hosting that one?
Leeds.
Who do you got? Brendan Aronson flying right now for Leeds. And as we've said, with Jedi, thankfully, knock on wood, now multiple games in a row. Who do you got on that one, Mosse?
I'll pick a draw. Ugh. That's my boring anytime two teams of this sort collide.
Wonderful. All right. Well, we'll see what happens. But good things from American side on both.
Sunderland will play host to Crystal Palace. Palace still licking their wounds after that humiliating FA Cup defeat to Macclesfield. They are winless in 9 in all competitions. Chris Richards and company really struggling. They're down to 13th in the Premier League table.
Yeah, and when that happens, the defense and often the defenders will, come under the harsh glare and light. So, the good and the bad when it comes to Chris Richards. I think it's fine from a U.S. perspective, but this is a place that he and his team obviously don't want to be in. And, I'm sure there's some people that are looking at it and saying, hey, this is the starting center back for the United States going forward. And here's a case where, if it continues to go south and it's problematic for Palace and Chris Richards gets his share of the blame going forward, it might be a case where he gets on the plane and comes with the U.S. team and, gets a new lease on life, if you will, and becomes a different player when he lands on the other side.
The big one in the Premier League this upcoming weekend, Manchester United will host Manchester City in the derby.
Ooh.
Manchester United have hired Michael Carrick, not Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, as their caretaker manager for the rest of this campaign. Manchester City, incidentally, yesterday claimed a 2-0 win over Newcastle in the first leg of the Carabao Cup semifinals. Semenyo, who they just signed from Bournemouth, got one of the goals. Cherokee got the other, so they're in good shape to reach the final there. The other semifinal, Chelsea-Arsenal, the first leg going on right now at Stamford Bridge. Arsenal have a 1-0 lead. Ben White with the goal. But getting back to this one, Manchester United now with Michael Carrick on the bench will be taking on their city rivals.
Yeah, I mean, so what is Arsenal's at 49 points, Man City at 43. And so if this is to happen, if this is to happen for Arsenal and that moment where they finally become the bride as opposed to the bridesmaid, they have to continue to put space. But we've said this now where, okay, they're coming. Well, at some point you gotta come if you're Man City, and you gotta start eating away at that. Now 6 points between the two teams here, and so these are some games where you can't be dropping points when I'm talking about Man City. If you're really going to make a run at them at the end here, otherwise, you're going to have Arsenal finally into the promised land.
By the way, as long as I'm doing a little managerial roundup,
yep.
Chelsea, I mentioned, are facing Arsenal right now. Liam Rossinier got that job, replacing Enzo Maresca. He's on their bench, and we talked about this on Monday. Alvaro Arbeloa taking over at Real Madrid. I thought it was in a caretaker role, but some people are framing it as if he's the permanent manager, and he's making his debut right now. They're playing in the Copa del Rey against a lower league team. So, interesting
but
managerial
it's not officially
activity.
Been said that he is. I mean, he's coaching, obviously, but
I saw one report that had him signing a 1.5-year contract. So that would include next season as well.
Wow.
But that hasn't stopped all the rumors about Jurgen Klopp and people like that, because nobody thinks Arbeloa would be like a long-term
But even
solution.
if you sign a 1.5 contract, what are they like? All right, they pay him off and they send him off. He goes to get to the next one in. All right, what else?
In terms of the Bundesliga, Bayern Munich this past weekend in their first match after the winter break claimed an 8-1 win over Wolfsburg, so not very rusty there. They're in action right now away to Cologne. Leipzig are taking on Freiburg, and then this upcoming weekend, the big one in the Bundesliga, Leipzig will host Bayern Munich.
Hope they didn't, spend all their bullets there in the 8-1. What's they're playing right now?
Yes, let me check those scores. A lot of games going on right now, so I'm constantly looking down at my phone.
That's okay.
Leipzig, Freiburg 0-0, Cologne, Bayern 1-1.
Okay. I still think that Bayern goes to Leipzig, and At Leipzig, yes. I think Bayern goes into Leipzig and wins.
Doug McIntyre has been firing off so many hot takes these days. It's easy to miss some of them. But did you catch when he came on with us and I asked him about Christian Pulisic being excluded from the Guardian Top 100 list? He said, oh, that list was a joke. Take, for example, and he said Harry Kane being above Erling Haaland was a joke. He said no manager in the world would take Kane over Haaland. That is a shocker from Doug. Now, obviously, Haaland is much younger, so if you're talking about signing for the long term, you take Haaland. But if it's to go win a game tomorrow, there are plenty of managers that would take Harry Kane over Erling Haaland. Stu Holt and I did a podcast weeks ago talking about how Harry Kane might be the best player in the world right now.
I did a panel the other day, and one of the questions from the audience was, who's going to be your Golden Boot winner? I immediately went to Harry Kane. As much as it pains me to say that, obviously an incredible individual player, but also playing, and again, this pains me to say, on a really good England team. And again, yeah, but you were kind enough not to completely embarrass him to his face, so we'll do it behind his back here.
Yes.
Okay, good.
You like that clip? Well, my State of the Union podcast drops twice a week right here on my very own YouTube page. The only way to stay up to date is to hit that subscribe button down below. Size the day, and see you soon.